Hey everybody. Talking about chains and chain friction. Zero friction cycling has some test studies of chain efficiency that you need to look at, especially if you're a SRAM user. The SRAM red flat top chain is probably the slowest chain they tested, and the rival chain is faster, or force, yeah. But the YBN, a Chinese chain, most people don't know about it. I didn't know about it till they talked about it. Was one of the fastest chains on there, but the SRAM chain dimensions are not the same as Shimano. It's a taller chain and a thinner chain width-wise. So the rollers are bigger in diameter, and the teeth spacing on the cassette is wider. But I thought, I'm gonna buy one of these chains and just try it. You know, the guy who runs Zero Friction Cycling doesn't recommend using it, and I understand why, because you have that, theoretically, you know, I didn't measure it with a caliper, but you have that difference in spacing that could cause it to jump under load. But for a TT, especially on a TT, you're not putting out 1200 watts, hopefully, and you know, you could get away with more, and it would stand to reason that you'd want to use the fastest chain you could. But anyway, I got the YBN, degreased it, waxed it like I always do my chains. And one thing I noticed since I've been using SRAM red for over a year now, and I have about 4 to 5 chains I rotate through depending if I'm training or racing and which bike I'm on. I noticed that the SRAM red chains, the links will be, like, some links will be bound up and super stiff, and you know, that's probably from shifting under load, but that has to be adding an incredible amount of friction on that chain. And but anyway, off the subject, I put the YBN chain on. I'm running a relatively new 1037 cassette with a SRAM 50 in the front, and rode 2.5 hours. The chain is really, really nice. I felt like it was shifting better than the red flat top. I could actually feel the smoothness through the pedals as I'm pedaling. I can actually feel that chain faster in the sensation that it's giving me versus the red flat top. I know that sounds like placebo effect, but the chain, I can tell that the chain is fast. And so I did a few little jumpy efforts to see if I can make it skip, and it was rock solid. Normally when you put a new chain on a super old cassette, like back in the old days, before we had all these better waxes and stuff, you know, you would run into that situation sometimes. And when you have a new chain on a worn cassette, you can feel that sensation as the chain is like stretching in the spacing of the cogs. I never saw that or felt that with the YBN. There was nothing the way that the bike rode that led me to think that the chain was not compatible with the cassette. And did my workouts, like 3 by low cadence intervals under, you know, you see, get the chains under a heavy load, and it was just rock solid. So I'm gonna do some sprints on a really steep climb just to see if I can make it jump. And if it doesn't jump, I'm going to use the chain in races. And it's something to think about. Definitely going to use it on the TT bike. That's a no-brainer. You know, I've broken chains before. I've crashed twice very, very, very hard from breaking a chain. Once in 2009 and the other last year in 2022. And it's a horrendous crash. It always happens at high speed under a sprint, and it really messes you up. So I'm not a stranger to what happens, but I have a lot of experience, and I feel like the chain is working, and it deserves a look at. So yeah, YBN on a SRAM setup, contraindicated according to everybody but YBN. Interesting that, you know, the ones who should be liable for a failure are the ones who say it's compatible. So, you know, the Chinese, we know how the Chinese are with their statements and their claims. But we'll see how it goes.